Hello everyone and welcome back to JB's Total Gaming, where today we're doing the second video in our series in must-play video games, ? We're talking about Sunless Sea. Now, what I'm trying to do with this series is point out indie games that may be really enjoyable for people to play, but because not every indie game can be recommended for everyone, because obviously there's going to be people who don't like certain games, let's talk a little bit about Sunless Sea. This is a game where you can do trades, a game where you can do combat, and a game where you can upgrade your ship. It has some survival elements where you want to worry about fuel and hunger, and fear is a factor as well. And hearing all those things, you might think to yourself that, well, this is, a sort of game that's very focused on mechanisms and on basically, trying to build up your crew and trying to do cool things. And right there we saw a little example of how combat works. So we're going to just talk for a second here. So there's combat like that where you have to get firing solutions based on where your gun is, what type of weapons you have, and if the person's in your firing arc, if your light is on them, so on and so forth, is going to affect combat. And like I said, there's trade and all this. So this may sound like a game that you're wanting to go out and do all these things and get the best ship possible. It is kind of a roguelike game where you die and you lose everything, although there are ways to pass things on to the next generation. So let's see what we got here from this. And hearing all that, you think maybe that this is a sort of gameplay focused game, and that's the sort of thing that you're going to be doing. There's a lot of games like this. Space games, for example, do this a lot, where you're going around doing these different things, trying to build up as best as you possibly can. But here's the deal. If that is how you're interested in playing this game, then stay away, because that combat, as you saw there, now I did just upgrade my ship. I do not have the starting ship. I have 2 weapons on my ship now instead of 1. You start with a less powerful ship with less cargo, less hull, all that, and only 1 weapon. But now that I have the 2 weapons, that combat against that easier enemy was relatively simpler. However, if you're interested in just that, this is a game that you may not enjoy very much. In general, the travel is very slow, and the combat does get repetitive. So this is a game that I say stay away from if you're actually focused on the gameplay elements of it. However, if you are interested in story, then, well, this game has something for you. And when I say story, I specifically am talking about not just the overall story of the game, but how do I word this? Just the writing and the things going on within the game. The overall story itself will vary slightly based on who you are, and it being a roguelike game where you probably will die and bad things will happen. So let's see here. Do we want to get supplies out of this or lower our terror? So right now I'm just going to get some more supplies out of this. And I'm kind of going over this real quick, and we're going to go into dock and see a little bit of what I'm talking about. So again, if it's the gameplay elements that interest you, I think this could get frustrating down the road with the ship moving as slowly as it does, some of the elements of the game being kind of obscured as you play, and the combat getting a little repetitive. However, the interesting things that go on in this game are the little stories. Now, all of these things are actually written. There is no voice acting in the game. And while I think the game has a fairly unique and interesting art style that I really like, simple but still really appealing, there is, and I do like the music that comes and goes. There's definitely a lot of empty space, which I'm okay with. But there's a lot of cool things like this. Like early on, I had this guy who's kind of undead that I brought to this place as kind of the first mission I did, and then he asked for another mission. And the way this works is when the game starts, and I'm actually not going to go to my map because I don't want to give away too much of the game, but the stuff right around your base is going to be the same all the time. And then the rest of the islands are going to be in general areas, but vary up as you go. And you're going to go out, and part of what you're going to want to be doing is discovering places. So this is a tomb colony of Vanderblight, where basically these kind of undead people are. And whenever you go to places, you can read what's going on and have interesting interactions with people. So on deck, you hear the sound that 1,000 bandaged dead make as they shuffle and cough. It's something like the world's most restless concert audience, or the world's most plague-ridden cathedral. So you're going to have all this kind of stuff like that, and different dialogues that happen, different skill checks that you can do, different things that you can do based on if you have certain items or whatnot. So we can explore the island, we can talk to the curator, we can gather gossip, all different kinds of things. So we can find out what's going on. And here we have a report that we can bring back and have all different kinds of interesting dialogue. So this is more of like a almost text adventure with a game layered on top of that. And the game itself I don't think is bad, but could get boring for some people. However, the way I would describe kind of the universe that this is set in, which is Fallen London, which is based on another game, I believe. Basically, London was dragged down underneath the earth into this sunless sea where by bats. It's a long story, but the best way to picture it, I'm going to steal this from Total Biscuit. He said that it was kind of like Terry Pratchett mixed with Lovecraft. And if that sort of setting interests you and you're not too worried about the gameplay being all that engaging, then you're the sort of person who might want to check this out if you don't mind reading all this stuff. Here they favor candlelight over gaslight. The shadows are swag like cobwebs. A tomb colonist stands still enough to be mistaken for sculpture until they laugh or cough. One building in 3 seems abandoned, so I can explore and read what's going on. And again, I don't want to give away the interesting characters and the dialogues. Now, there is gameplay elements, so here are my officers up here. They give me different stat boosts, and these are my stats here. And some of the things are kind of obscured as you play the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a separate video if you're interested in this game with some kind of basic tips for beginners and how to make money and whatnot, because it is a game worth playing as far as the gameplay is concerned. But like I said, it's not going to appeal to everyone. This is a game where the writing and the interactions are kind of, in my opinion, the interesting thing. So just to give you one example of a sort of interaction here. A little chapel stands alone. You poke your head through the door. The walls are deep red, just this side of scarlet. A ruby-tinted window at the back glows with a steady light. An electric lamp behind the glass? Question mark. Rare and expensive, but this is no gaslight. No one is here, and yet you have the sensation that only a moment ago someone must have been. So here, I can kind of have a choose-your-own-adventure thing. So there are going to be some choices that are going to be based on my skill. So my mirror's chance gives me a 66% success chance of doing this. And again, these are things I'll talk about in the video for beginners if you're interested in. And like a choose-your-own-adventure based on the skills I have or based on the items I have, I can just leave, I can make an offering, I can do all different kinds of things. I don't want to give the game away too much, but all I'll say is there are interesting characters and interesting stories to be told as you explore this interesting universe. And if you're okay with the gameplay being a little bit slow and repetitive, and if you're okay with the fact that you're probably going to die quite often and maybe lose a lot of progress, and it may even be obscured as to how to get better at the game, then I would say stay away. But if this universe intrigues you and you don't mind reading all this dialogue and delving into this what I consider interesting world, then I definitely suggest checking it out. So this is Sunless Sea. I'll put the Steam link in the description. Like I said, I'll come out shortly with another video for beginners, and even if you're unsure about the game still, maybe you want to check out that video. And when I talk a little bit more about the game, I'll still try to be relatively spoiler free, but give you a little bit idea more what's in the game if you're still undecided, or if you pick up the game and are looking for some hints into how to get started. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.